Hey, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday care people. It's your boy, the Big Canucker, and we have got ourselves a Finch holiday to look at today. I've had this knife for a little bit, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. Finch Knife Company happens to be located in Stillwell, Kansas. Never been there. Maybe one day I'll head to Stillwell and I'll watch a football game there somewhere or something. I think that's a pretty big thing in Kansas is football, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's have a look here. This whole Finch Knife Company is an excellent company. A couple other reviews out there. I know that they were kind of, I think, voted by a few guys, voted them, I think, best new knife company. And if this is what they're producing, then I think that they've got a right to have that name because this is an excellent little knife. This one happens to be called the Holiday. It is designed, I guess, kind of as a modern interpretation on an older traditional knife. And the Holiday happens to be the old Doc Holiday is what they're referring to. And I thought, seeing this knife online and kind of seeing what it was about, I thought it might be a little bit too boxy to be comfortable. But I was really pleasantly surprised at the ergonomics of this knife. Even though it is kind of a boxy design, it fits in the hand really well. And there doesn't seem to be any really terrible hot spots on it. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here a little bit. Let's go. Its overall length here is 7.2 inches with a blade length of having 3.15 inches. Now, it's just not my perfect 3.5 EDC blade, but it is very close. 3.25 or just somewhere around there. The overall length is 7.2. When you close this up, she's 4 inches long. I'm not familiar with 4 inches, so don't even go there. The old weight on this here is 3.5 ounces. You're looking at somewhere around close to 3/4 of an inch wide with the blade, as well as the handle on it. She's a little bit thick here. I don't have a measurement for here, but I think this is probably just a smidge over ½ inch. And it does fill the hands quite nicely for being such a knife that's not a big, huge monster. And that's not what this is going to be. This is not going to be your EDC knife that you're going to take to your construction job and you're going to be cutting open, bundles of 2x4s, with the old wire thing on it and smacking the blade. That's kind of not what that's for. I think this is more of the kind of going to Sunday church with this in your slacks or out for a night with the missus, and you want to throw this in your jogging shorts. It's not going to smack around there and hit the old jewels and bring your jogging shorts to the ground. It's light enough, it's small enough, it's straight enough, and it's comfortable enough. I think that this is going to be more of a kind of a gentleman's everyday carry rather than a really super hardworking knife. Now, I don't have an actual measurement here for the blade thickness, but I'm going to say this is probably somewhere around, just right around the 3 mil. It's kind of got that distal taper with this full flat grind on it, and it is a really nice slicer. Now, with this Wharncliffe design on it, you've really got that tip that you can kind of do some real fine, fancy kind of carving with it. I think that this is a very versatile blade with a kind of versatile tip. But it's, like I said, based upon the thickness of this, it's not going to be your kind of pop open a paint can with it. Not that you should ever pop open a paint can with your knife, but you know what? Sometimes we all do stupid things. I just think your level of stupidness with this knife goes down with how fine this tip is. All right, so I'm going to say it is a flipper, of course, and the detent on here is completely dialed in. You could do the light switch on here, no problem. It just opens up like a blast, but you can also do the push button too as well. It opens up, it fires with the push button. It seems to take a second, and then bam, it just fires right out. So it does come out just incredibly well. And then other thing is it does the old shake test. It's not gonna pop open, and because you can get some overzealous border guy or overzealous cop out there who will call this a gravity knife if he can shake it open, and if he doesn't like it, he's being a little bit of a dick to you. Well, this knife is not going to shake open unless there's something that I don't know. And hopefully, from what I've seen, I've not seen anybody complain about the detent in this whatsoever. So now, like I said, going back to the old traditional kind of modern day traditional, it looks like you've got yourselves a liner lock that's kind of part liner lock, but also kind of part frame lock. It's got kind of some thick stainless steel here. The cutouts on the inside. And it's got lots of access with your thumb to the lock on it. Sometimes you can get these here on the inside where they're just, both of them are kind of sculpted the same, and you got to jam your thumb in there. There's no problem with that whatsoever. And I think that this one here, the pivot on this just drops like nothing. And if this little flipper tab wasn't in your way, I have no doubt that this knife would just fall, with the lock bar tension off, would just be free swinging, no problem. And the other thing here with this little bit of a flipper tab, it's not a real wide kind of pocket pecker or anything like that. And you can see that it's got jimping on both sides. So when this does fly out, you've got yourself a little bit of jimping there from when you're popping it open, but you've also got a little bit of jimping here as kind of just that little bit of extra protection if you happen to kind of want to do any sort of penetration with this. You've got that little bit of a tab there, and it gives your finger that just a little bit of extra grip on it. So I just some design cues, that a real small thing. Now I don't know what it costs to have that little bit of extra jimping added in there, but for somebody to think of it and put those 3 little ticks in there does cost some money. And it's just one of those little design philosophies that seems like Finch with their knives is not afraid to spend a little bit of extra to have that little bit of extra comfort or safety and fit and finish on this knife, because that's another way this thing really, really shines. Is the fit and finish on this knife was absolutely excellent. Now I can't feel any sort of transition between the two there. There's no little kind of lip that's going to catch your finger on any of the bolsters. Really, really excellent, superb job by whoever manufactures this knife out in China for Finch. They've got some really, really good manufacturing techniques, as well as I think some people out there who watch these things. You can see that your stainless steel here, I'm not sure if you can tell here, but it looks like it's hand rubbed, everything this way, as well as the blade too is hand rubbed. You can see that it just looks like there's just these lines straight out, and that's just, it just looks excellent. And it's just another one of those ways I think that Finch is kind of standing out from the crowd in some of the knives that they make. Now, this here happens to be, I think, more of a kind of a, I'm not going to say it's not super functional, but it's just one of those little design cues that you pop that open and you can see that it's got a glow-in-the-dark badge on it. And some people call that kitschy, some people call that, I don't know, I just think it's neat, especially when it's out in the sun. My little old light here only charged up for a second, but when you put this in the sun and you put it in your pocket, you've got a little glowy Finch badge on it, and I think that's kind of cool. It's just one of those things that I like, little things like that. It's just another way here. Like, they could have done something else besides a little glow in the dark. I imagine the glow in the dark takes a little bit more money than something else. So why not? If they're going to pay that attention to that kind of stuff, I think the important stuff is paid attention to as well. So this knife comes in red leaded micarta. It also comes in a black micarta as well as a white bone. All of them look excellent. I happen to think that the white bone looks really, really sharp, but I was really taken aback by how sharp this red leaded micarta looked. I just think it was really, really, what do they call it? I think they call it Sequoia red leaded micarta. What that means, I don't know. But it's not your micarta that's got that little bit of fuzz to it that you can, when it gets wet, it gets grippy. This stuff seems like it's more like a polished micarta, so it's not anything that's kind of really terribly grippy. I mean, I suppose if something's going to lose a little bit of marks on this, it would be the fact that it's not crazy. I mean, if you're working in a Vaseline factory or a KY factory, you certainly would not want to have this knife in your pocket. Because it can be a little bit slippery. But that being said, it is fairly comfortable. I never noticed any real hot spots on it, despite it being really square and kind of blocky in your hand. I thought it was really, really excellent overall. I did some, not crazy heavy-duty cutting with this, but I did cut some cardboard because that seems to be my real thing where I'm cutting is lots of cardboard. And I was really, really surprised with this. and how well it did cut, and that the fact that there was no hot spots on it. Now, like I said, this is not going to be your everyday carry hard use knife. This is going to be your everyday carry Sunday night supper, or out with the missus, or throw it in your jogging pants or jogging shorts. That's not going to weigh down your pants so much, because, like I said, only at 3.5 ounces, I think it's excellent. Now, the steel on this, like I said, the 154 cm steel on this, you see that in the beginning a while ago. 154 cm was your top end steel. You'd see that like 940-1, like your 940, your Osborne 940 from Benchmade. It originally came with a 154 cm. I know there's other reviewers out there that, despite being, the M390s and the S90 and the S110V, a 154 cm is their favorite steel. A couple of sharpening guys I've seen online, 154 is their favorite steel because it is so easy to sharpen. It takes such a fine edge. It's tough. It's corrosion resistance. It's got good strength. So it's just a really good all-around steel, and it's not going to break the bank too as well. Now, I have got steel that's, I think, 10V out of a Spyderco K2 that can cut some twisted style rope till the cows come home. We're talking like 1,500, 2,000 times. And then I've got this one, which will probably do it 250 times. I just, because it's so easy to sharpen, sometimes I think this 250 times is going to do more than enough for me. The edge retention on this is going to be more than enough for me for an everyday carry, or especially a gentleman's carry, that I'm not going to be using this to cut through cardboard or anything like that every day. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, would I recommend this knife? Absolutely. And I also think I'm going to check out some of the other Finch knives too. I think that they're, a really, really excellent company so far from what they've spit out there. So we'll have a look at that. Hopefully down the road we'll have a look at some more Finch company knives. Now, thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you like what you saw and you heard, please don't forget to hit the old subscribe button, as well as like and share, and leave a comment on the bottom. I do appreciate it. Now, one thing I'm going to ask you a favor. If you happen to notice that most of my knives have got a lanyard, I do this with shoelace that I get from Mark's Work Warehouse. But the one I like, the brown, I can't find anymore. It's just as black. I don't think the black is as nice as the brown. If anybody has a really good corded leather lace that's in kind of a roll, that's not going to break the bank, and it's quite a good stuff, please leave me a link in the comments and I'll check it out, maybe buy some and give you a shout out. All right, please stay safe out there. Please keep your stick on the ice, the shiny side up. This is the Big Canucker, saying adios.